So you've made the mistake of hitting your guide arm or doing anything else involved in cranking this thing over so that you end up with slop in your guide arm and everything's all out of whack, and you need to know how to get it back in. I've repaired numerous mills with this same issue and have come up with a very simple way to do it. You can see on the lower portion of this here, the guide rollers themselves are angled down, so she's way out of whack, and I'm going to show you a really easy way to repair this, and then also go through the setup procedure to get this guide arm traveling in and out parallel, so that if you are running your mill and you notice that when the guide roller is all the way in, you've got lots of guide roller pressure, and then when you drive it out, you can spin the roller and there's very little in the way of down pressure. I'll walk you through the steps on how to do this massive repair, but also if you just fast forward a little bit, I'll go into the alignment procedure. Got a really simple way to do this. It's kind of foolproof. I just find this is the easiest way to do it versus getting a ton of hammers and bending and prying and making marks all over the mill. All you need is about just 2 feet, maybe 3 feet of 1 inch inside diameter pipe, and that'll become apparent here in a sec. Just follow the steps in this video. Long of the short of it is we're going to remove this little stop bolt right here so that the guide arm can come all the way through. We'll remove it completely. Then when it comes to these, we just take this nut off, remove the V roller, but leave this back nut in place. That way, actually, sorry, there's one that's more in behind the back side of this. Leave that on, leave this one on, and remove this one here and remove the wheels once we get this guide arm off of the mill. And then what will happen is if you grab a piece of 1 inch inside diameter pipe, it just fits snug over top of these bolts, or the nuts, sorry, that are on here. So we'll remove this, we'll remove the nut first, remove the V roller wheel, but put the nut back on so it's just on the very end of the threads. So you have 1, 2, 3 nuts, and then that bar will slip over top, and if you got a long enough piece, when you slide it over, it'll fit relatively tight, but it'll exaggerate how far it's out. I'll take this all apart and we'll go from there. One of the other things you're going to have to do is, once you've got this nut and bolt removed down here, when you're trying to advance this all the way through, it's going to hit down here, so you're going to have to loosen, or you're pretty much going to have to take these two right out and loosen the top two up substantially, but don't take them right out because it's kind of a pain to realign these holes all back in. Or you can usually get away with just taking the two bottom ones right out, loosening these off, and then this whole bracket will lift up, and then we'll be able to swing this portion of it underneath. Then once you get those loosened off, just back this nut or this bolt out right here, and that will pry this back out enough to get this out from the inside. Now we can remove the guide arm completely. Okay, so with that out, now we're going to take a 15/16 wrench and we're just going to remove this nut, that nut, and then we'll take the V roller off, and then we'll reassemble, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so those are off, and now you just put these nuts back on just until you've got some threads bitten on there. And that's about where you want them. In this instance, the top ones are still parallel. The bottom ones, you can see they're running downhill. If you don't move this back nut, you won't lose where the correct positioning for those V rollers were. You'll assume that they were in the right position before the trauma happened to the mill and these got all bent down. So if you leave these where they are, just put this one back on. Now, if you grab the mill aligner 5000, oh, this is only the 3000 version. It's just 1 inch inside diameter pipe. This one's about 30 inches long, so when you put it on, it just slides over these fairly snug. But now you can see in relation to the mill how far it exaggerates how far those are bent. This also gives you some leverage now to just gently pull it up until she looks relatively parallel. You can see we're down quite a bit. This needs to be about up to here. And you only have to get this relatively close because these bolts that those are mounted to are not actual standard issue bolts. The head is drilled and then welded off center, so as you turn this is an eccentric. It goes, as you spin this side, it moves these pins around, and that's how you get your adjustment. Common misconception is that it's just a nut and a bolt. Well, it's not actually. I believe over here in the toolbox, just for better reference, only because I have to explain this a lot of the times to people, and sometimes visual aid is much better. Oh yeah, right here. So you can see right here, this is not centered perfectly. It's welded off center, so that's how this works. This spins through the frame on this little gland that's machined on the end, so as you turn it, this goes around like this, and this is what gives you your adjustment. So as you spin the backside, those rollers are coming up and down. We will use that later on to create the guide arm coming in and out. If it's running downhill, we would loosen the top one and tighten the bottom one up just by spinning the backside, and then we'll go through that process when we get there. So back to this, you can see even just in relation to the rest of the mill how far out this is. So that's snug over top of those bolts. So we're literally just going to gently work this up with some pressure. Give her a good snort. She's already a lot better. We'll give her one more, just to be safe. I'm quite pleased with that one. Back over to the other side. You can see that one really took a kicking. Again, because of the leverage on here, this really isn't that hard to do. And it lines it back up. That much effort actually gets her almost good. We'll give her one more and then we'll go from there. Hey, sorry, I was just with a customer. Okay, so you can see now we've got this one relatively parallel to the head. This one's pretty much the exact same. Nice and easy, no marring up of anything, and this will go together the exact same way we took it apart. Really, really simple. We'll slide the guide arm back in, or we'll get the guide rollers back on, slide everything back in, tighten this back down, and then we'll go through the adjustment process of getting it aligned with the bed. Also, side note, if you're in a position now where you have the parts close by and you anticipate it, if you were to grab these things here and they were all sloppy in and out, just once you've got them snugged down, if they were all wobbly, and be a good time to either order the replacement bearings for this or just buy them new. There's a little C-clip in the back and a retainer clip, sorry, and then those bearings just replaced. That now would be the time to do it, but these ones are actually in really, really good shape. Okay, so after reassembly, we've got the back one tightened up, but right now you can see this is kind of where we left it. The top one is, we didn't move this one, and because of the way this one was bent, it was the bottom ones that took it the most of the brunt of the, so we'll put 1.5 inches or 1 1/8 wrench on the back side, and now you can see we got all this slop. So as we rotate the back side, it will get tighter. We may have to bring the top one down too. Oh, that's got her. She's nice and snug now. If there's no more slop in this at all. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's in alignment, but we've got everything back in a state now where it's tight and it travels in and out good. We'll throw a band on and then we'll go to the alignment procedure, and then we'll fine tune it from there. So now that we got this nice and tight, like I said, it's not aligned or anything yet, but now's the time where we would now go through and tighten up these, so you can do the top ones right up back tight again. We didn't take them out, remember that. So we can snug this up, and then we'll throw the bottom plate in here first and behind the shield and shroud for the guide arm in and out motor, and then we'll go from there. So we got the mill unpacked. We're going to bring this up to about 6 inches and we'll go from there. Now, your first check, you can see we've got the guide arm sitting right over top of our first fixed bed rail. Let's bring it all the way out, and we'll measure down to the back of the guide block from your first fixed bed rail, and we're about 5 7/8, or 5 7/16, sorry. And then we'll drive it in and check the measurement down at this end here, and it'll tell us if we're going up or down or not. Oh, would you look at that? 5 7/16. Yeah, as it turns out, we're 5 3/8 and 5 3/8 on the inside. So as it turns out, this actually worked out just perfectly. Normally, if this was running downhill, what we would have to do is take the other edge of this one here on the top bolt, turn it, and by turning it, it's going to raise that top wheel up, and then we would have slop, and then we would do the bottom, bring that, tighten it from the back side, and that's going to rotate this up tighter, and then we would do it until the measurement is the exact same here as it is here. That way it ensures that once you get your down pressure set, it's going to maintain an even pressure as it goes all the way across. Number one concern why people say I bring my guide arm in, it doesn't cut and it's flopping and the wheel's not spinning when I'm going through the cut from where the operator's standing. A lot of times you'll see this wheel will slow down and speed up and slow down. It's because it doesn't have enough down pressure on it. So that's the way it works. Very, very simple to adjust these. Hopefully that clears up any misconceptions on how to do this. It's super, super simple. And adversely, you just want to make sure that everything's locked up back tight. You would have made sure that you replace bearings if you needed to. In a future video, I think I'm going to just make another quick one. I don't like dragging on forever and making videos that have multiple layers. I like to do shorter videos, but I'm going to do a next series one where I do simple alignment. Now, a lot of this stuff may seem easy to a lot of you who've been doing it for a long time, but I'm always of the mind that I can learn something new, and hopefully you'll learn something new from this today, and at least make a job like this not be so overwhelming when it's like, yeah, I auto down, or a lot of the guys that bring mills to me, or they've left this guide arm out when they leave a job site and then it catches a pile, and I've literally had some of them tear them right off, and I haven't had one yet that I couldn't fix. And it doesn't mar up the mill, everything's in good shape, lubricated. Yeah, so hopefully that clears up any misconceptions about the guide arm and out system. If you have a video idea, a nice simple one that you would like me to cover, by all means leave it in the comments or do whatever you want to do, and I'll see if I can help you out. Thanks for watching.